Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun!
The stale air in the apartment felt heavy, almost oppressive, on a stifling summer afternoon. A lone ceiling fan twirled languidly, an inadequate guardian against the heat. Social anxiety had tightened its grip, transforming what was once a cozy space into a suffocating cell. Slouched on the bedside, Callan was engulfed in apprehension, their hands entwined in a nervous dance. Leaving the confines of the apartment was a daunting prospect, and the floor beneath their gaze offered a comforting refuge. "You've got to break free from this, Callan," Jessica implored, her tone radiating a blend of worry and resolve. "Think about it. It's been 3 weeks since you ventured beyond the mailbox. This can't go on." Callan's response was barely audible. "I'm okay. Just need some time." With a resigned sigh, Jessica joined Callan on the bed, deliberately softening her stance. She wore her usual confident expression, the one that had helped her breeze through college while maintaining a thriving social life. Everything Callan struggled with. "That's what you said last month, and the month before that," she pointed out. "Your therapist even said you need to practice exposure therapy, but you keep canceling those appointments too." Callan didn't respond, just continued staring at the worn carpet. The silence stretched between them, broken only by the rhythmic whoosh of the ceiling fan. "I have an idea," Jessica finally said, her voice taking on that tone that always meant she was plotting something. "Something unconventional, but it might actually work. I'm not doing another dating app. Last time I had a panic attack before I even left the apartment. No, nothing like that. This is different." Jessica paused, seeming to choose her words carefully. "Have you ever noticed how differently people behave when they think nobody knows who they are? Like at masquerade parties or Halloween?" Callan glanced up, suspicion creeping in. "What are you suggesting?" "A disguise. A complete transformation. Something so different that you wouldn't recognize yourself, and neither would anyone else." "Like what? A fake mustache and sunglasses?" Jessica laughed and shook her head. "I was thinking something more dramatic. What if you tried crossdressing?" The suggestion hung in the air, unexpected and bizarre. That's ridiculous," Callan sputtered, but Jessica was already warming to her idea. "Think about it. Nobody would know it's you. You could practice being in public, talking to people, without any of the pressure of being yourself. It would be like a complete reset." "I can't believe we're even discussing this." "Cal, your therapist said you need to find a way to separate your anxiety from your sense of self. This could be perfect. You could create a whole different persona." Callan stood up and paced the small bedroom, heart racing at the absurdity of the suggestion. "Even if I wanted to, which I don't, I wouldn't know the first thing about that." Jessica's eyes lit up. "That's where I come in. Fashion major, remember? Plus, we're almost the same size. You're thin, not too tall. It could definitely work." "This is insane. What's insane is watching my brother waste away in this apartment because he's too afraid to face the world." Jessica's voice softened. "Just try it once. If it's awful, we'll never speak of it again." The next day arrived with an alarming pile of clothing spread across Callan's bed. Jessica had arrived early, arms laden with bags and an enthusiastic gleam in her eye. "We'll start simple," she explained, holding up a pair of women's jeans. "These aren't even that different from men's jeans, just a slightly different cut." Callan eyed the denim skeptically.
"Those look way tighter than anything I own."
"That's the point." Women's clothes tend to be more fitted. Go on, try them. With extreme reluctance, Callan took the jeans and disappeared into the bathroom. There was a long silence, followed by muffled curses.
Everything okay in there?
Jessica called. How do women breathe in these things? Came the strained reply. When the bathroom door finally opened, Jessica clapped her hands together. See? Not so different. They look good. Callan shifted uncomfortably. They feel weird. Now for the top. Jessica handed over a simple coral-colored blouse with 3/4 sleeves. Nothing too feminine yet. This could almost be a men's shirt. The transformation continued with growing protests from Callan, but Jessica's enthusiasm was relentless. By the time she pulled out a long auburn wig, Callan was drawing the line. Absolutely not. This is already too much. The wig is the most important part. Nobody will recognize you with different hair. Jessica adjusted the wig on her brother's head, tucking away the short brown hair underneath. There. Oh my God. The mirror revealed a startling transformation. The auburn waves softened Callan's features, making the hazel eyes appear larger, the cheekbones more pronounced. I look ridiculous, Callan muttered, but couldn't look away from the reflection. You look different, Jessica corrected. In a good way. You need a name. A name? This isn't a permanent thing, Jess. Every persona needs a name. How about Stephanie? The name hung in the air, strangely fitting for the unfamiliar reflection in the mirror. Okay, Jessica announced, gathering her purse. Time for the real test. We're going to the coffee shop down the street. What? No, absolutely not. Panic flared instantly. I'm not going outside like this. That's exactly why we're doing this. Nobody will know it's you. It's perfect exposure therapy. After 20 minutes of arguing, Callan, now reluctantly answering to Stephanie, found himself walking stiffly beside Jessica toward the local coffee shop, hyper-aware of every step in the unfamiliar jeans and blouse, the auburn hair brushing against his shoulders. Stop walking like that, Jessica whispered. You look like you're marching to your execution. Relax your shoulders. I don't know how else to walk, came the hissed reply. Smaller steps. Let your hips move naturally. The coffee shop loomed ahead, its windows revealing a handful of customers inside. Callan froze on the sidewalk. I can't do this. Jessica took her brother's trembling hand. Yes, you can. I'll be right beside you. Remember, you're not Callan right now. You're Stephanie, and Stephanie doesn't have social anxiety. Those words, Stephanie doesn't have social anxiety, echoed oddly as they approached the door. It was strangely liberating, the idea that this other persona might be free from the crippling fear that had dictated Callan's life for so long. Inside, the barista glanced up with a friendly smile. What can I get for you, ladies? Ladies. The word sent a shock through Callan's system. The disguise was working. Jessica ordered for both of them when Callan remained silent, and they took a table by the window. As they sipped their coffees, something remarkable happened. The usual symptoms of anxiety, racing heart, shallow breathing, intrusive thoughts of judgment, were muted, overlaid with a different kind of nervousness that was almost exciting. You're doing great, Jessica whispered over her latte. How do you feel? Weird, but not as terrified as usual. See? It's working. Over the next few weeks, what had begun as an outlandish experiment evolved into something unexpected. Stephanie began to venture out more frequently, first always with Jessica, then occasionally alone for quick errands. The women's clothing gradually became less uncomfortable and more familiar. One evening, as they practiced applying makeup in Jessica's apartment, Callan made a confession. I think I feel more comfortable as Stephanie than as myself." Jessica paused, mascara wand in hand. "What do you mean exactly?" "When I'm Stephanie, I don't feel the same anxiety. It's like she doesn't carry all the baggage that Callan does. All those memories of humiliation and failure. That makes sense. It's like you're giving yourself permission to start fresh." Callan nodded slowly, studying the transformation in the mirror. The auburn hair had become a constant, sometimes styled differently, but always present during these outings. The makeup skills were improving, and what had once felt like an outrageous disguise now felt almost natural.
"I want to try something more feminine,"
Callan said quietly. "A dress, maybe?" Jessica's eyebrows shot up in surprise. "Really? That's a big step from jeans and blouses." "I know, but I think I'm ready." The next day, they went shopping together, and Stephanie tried on sundresses in the fitting room, while Jessica waited outside with encouraging words. A yellow sundress with a flowing skirt became an immediate favorite, along with a teal summer dress that brought out the flecks of green in Hazel eyes. "You have good taste," Jessica remarked as they walked home, shopping bags in hand. "Most people have to develop their style over time, but you seem to know exactly what works for you." "It's easier somehow, choosing clothes for Stephanie. When I shop for myself, for Callan, I just grab whatever will help me blend into the background." "And Stephanie doesn't want to blend in?" There was a pause. "No, I think she wants to be seen." Summer progressed, and with it, Stephanie's confidence grew. The social anxiety that had once been debilitating for Callan seemed distant and manageable when viewed through Stephanie's perspective. Jessica taught her everything from nail care to choosing accessories that complemented the growing wardrobe of feminine clothes. One Friday evening, they sat in Jessica's apartment as she demonstrated how to walk in heels. "It's all about balance and posture," Jessica explained, walking across the living room with practiced ease in 3-inch pumps. "Heel to toe, smaller steps than you're used to." Stephanie followed, wobbling at first, but gradually finding balance in the nude pumps that matched perfectly with the coral dress she wore. "You're a natural," Jessica encouraged. "Much better than my first attempt. I fell flat on my face at my senior prom." Stephanie laughed, a free and genuine sound that had become more common over the weeks. "Thanks for all this, Jess. I know it must seem weird." "It's not weird if it's helping. And it obviously is. When was the last time Callan laughed like that?" The question lingered, unanswered but thought-provoking. Late August brought an unexpected complication. Their mother called, announcing she would be visiting the following weekend. Panic set in immediately. Not the old social anxiety, but a new fear related to Stephanie's growing presence in Callan's life. "What am I going to do?" Stephanie paced Jessica's apartment, auburn hair swinging with each turn. "All of my progress has been as Stephanie. If I have to go back to being Callan for the whole weekend, I'll be right back where I started." "Calm down," Jessica soothed. "Mom's visit is just for Saturday afternoon through Sunday brunch. You can be Callan for that short time." But the prospect of reverting to Callan, even temporarily, filled Stephanie with unexpected dread. The women's clothing that now filled half the closet would need to be hidden. The auburn wig that had become a comforting constant would have to be stored away. The very thought brought on the first anxiety attack Stephanie had experienced in weeks. "I don't think I can do it," she admitted, hands shaking as she clutched a throw pillow to her chest. Jessica watched her with growing concern. "This is more than just anxiety management now, isn't it?" Stephanie looked up, eyes glistening with unshed tears. "What do you mean?" "I mean that Stephanie isn't just a disguise anymore. She's becoming who you really are." The words hung in the air, both frightening and liberating. Stephanie didn't respond, but the silence was answer enough. The day before their mother's visit, disaster struck. Jessica had taken some of Stephanie's laundry home to wash, including the beloved yellow sundress. Their mother, arriving a day early to surprise them, found the dress while helping Jessica fold laundry. "This is pretty," she commented, holding up the yellow fabric. "New dress?" Jessica froze, mind racing. "Oh, that's not mine." Their mother raised an eyebrow. "No. Whose is it then?" "It belongs to a friend. Stephanie. She's been staying over sometimes." "I see." Their mother folded the dress carefully.
Well, your friend has good taste. It's a lovely color.
Later that evening, when Stephanie arrived for their regular dinner, Jessica pulled her aside with urgency. "Mom's here early," she whispered. "She found your yellow dress in my laundry." Color drained from Stephanie's face. "What did you tell her?" "I said it belonged to my friend Stephanie, who sometimes stays over." Jessica squeezed her arm reassuringly. "It's fine. She didn't suspect anything." Throughout dinner, their mother chatted about neighborhood gossip and her garden, seemingly oblivious to the tension radiating from Callan, who had reluctantly removed the auburn wig and changed into old male clothing for the meal. As they cleared the dishes, their mother casually remarked, "You seem different, Callan. More withdrawn than usual. Is everything okay?" "I'm fine," came the automatic response, though it couldn't have been further from the truth. Being forced back into Callan's skin felt like trying to squeeze into clothes that had shrunk several sizes, constraining and uncomfortable. That night, lying awake in bed, the realization solidified. Stephanie wasn't just a character or a disguise. She felt more authentic than Callan ever had. The social anxiety that had defined Callan's existence was absent when living as Stephanie. It wasn't that Stephanie didn't experience anxiety. She did. But it was the normal, manageable kind that didn't paralyze her. The next morning, their mother announced over breakfast that she would be staying for the entire week. "I thought it would be nice to spend more time with my children," she explained, pouring more coffee. "It's been too long since we had quality time together." Panic flashed across Callan's features. A whole week of suppressing Stephanie? It seemed impossible. Jessica, sensing the distress, jumped in. "That sounds great, Mom. But just so you know, Callan and I both have some work commitments that can't be rescheduled." Their mother waved a dismissive hand. "That's fine, dear. I'll entertain myself while you're busy. I brought my knitting." 3 days into their mother's visit, the strain was becoming unbearable. Callan had canceled all of Stephanie's plans and outings, retreating back into isolation within the apartment, except for forced family dinners. The old anxiety symptoms were returning, the racing heart, the circular thoughts, the avoidance behaviors. On the 4th evening, Jessica found Callan sitting on the bathroom floor, breathing into cupped hands, on the verge of a full panic attack. "This isn't working," Jessica whispered, closing the bathroom door and sitting down beside her brother. "You're miserable." "I can't keep doing this," came the choked reply. I feel like I'm suffocating. Jessica was quiet for a moment, then spoke with careful determination. Then don't. Be Stephanie. What? Mom is here. I can't just... Why not? She already knows about my friend Stephanie. Why couldn't Stephanie come over? The suggestion was outrageous, terrifying, and yet tempting. She would recognize me instantly. Jessica shook her head. I don't think she would. Mom hasn't seen you in almost a year. You've lost weight since then, and with the auburn hair and makeup you look completely different. I think you could pull it off. The plan was audacious. The next day, Callan would leave early, supposedly for a job interview. 2 hours later, Stephanie would arrive as Jessica's friend, coming to help with a project. It was risky, but the alternative, continuing to suppress Stephanie, was becoming untenable. The following morning, Callan mumbled something about a job interview, barely making eye contact with their mother before hurrying out the door. 2 hours later, Jessica opened the door to greet Stephanie, dressed in the teal summer dress and auburn hair styled in loose waves. Mom, Jessica called. My friend Stephanie is here to help me with that design project I mentioned. Their mother emerged from the kitchen, drying her hands on a dish towel. She smiled warmly. It's lovely to meet you, Stephanie. Jessica has mentioned you. Stephanie's heart thundered in her chest, but the familiar voice came out steady. It's nice to meet you too. Jess has told me so much about her family. The strangest part wasn't the deception itself. It was how completely their mother failed to recognize her own child. They sat in the living room, making small talk about the summer heat and Jessica's design work, and not once did a flicker of recognition cross their mother's face. You girls work on your project, their mother eventually said. I'll make some iced tea. Once she was out of earshot, Stephanie exhaled shakily. She has no idea. Jessica squeezed her hand. Told you, you really do look completely different. The project provided an excuse for Stephanie to stay for dinner. Their mother insisted, saying any friend of Jessica's was welcome at their table. Throughout the meal, Stephanie found herself relaxing, enjoying the novel experience of interacting with her mother as someone new, someone without the baggage of Callan's history. So, Stephanie, their mother asked over dessert, do you live nearby? I have a small apartment about 20 minutes away, she answered truthfully. Well, you're welcome here any time. In fact, if you ever need a place to stay, we have a spare room. Callan hardly ever uses it anymore since he got his own place. Jessica nearly choked on her water, but Stephanie managed a grateful smile. That's very kind of you. After dinner, Stephanie made her excuses to leave, promising to return soon. The plan was for Callan to mysteriously return early the next morning, having stayed with a friend after the interview. But standing outside the apartment building, gazing up at the warm lights in the windows, Stephanie made a decision. Callan wouldn't be coming back. Not tomorrow. Not ever. The realization wasn't sudden, but felt like the final piece of a puzzle, slowly taking shape over the summer months. The next morning, Jessica arrived alone for breakfast, finding their mother already cooking pancakes. Where's Callan? She asked. Wasn't he supposed to be back by now? He texted earlier. Jessica lied smoothly. The interview went well, and they asked him to come back today for a second round. He's pretty excited about it. Their mother beamed, flipping a pancake. That's wonderful! I was starting to worry about him. He seemed so withdrawn lately. Yeah, job hunting has been stressful for him. Later that morning, as Jessica was helping with the dishes, their mother paused, dishcloth in hand. "Your friend Stephanie seems lovely." "She is," Jessica agreed cautiously. "She reminds me of someone, though I can't quite place who." Their mother scrubbed thoughtfully at a plate. There's something familiar about her eyes. Jessica's heart skipped. "She has that kind of face, I guess. People often think they've met her before." Their mother seemed to accept this, but added, "Invite her over again before I leave. I enjoyed her company." And so began an extraordinary arrangement. For the remainder of their mother's visit, Callan remained conspicuously absent, supposedly immersed in promising job prospects, while Stephanie became a frequent visitor, helping with dinner preparations and joining them for movie nights. By the time their mother packed to leave, she had extended an open invitation for Stephanie to visit anytime, and had even sent Callan several encouraging text messages about his job search. Messages that Stephanie answered while sitting in the next room. "I'm worried about you," Jessica confessed after their mother had gone. They sat in Stephanie's apartment, surrounded by the now permanent fixtures of her life, the makeup vanity, the closet full of women's clothing, the auburn wig carefully placed on its stand. "Why? I'm happier than I've ever been." "This started as therapy for your social anxiety, but it's become something else entirely. You're living a double life." Stephanie considered this, turning her coffee mug in her hands. "It doesn't feel like a double life anymore. It just feels like my life. Callan was the one who felt false." "Have you thought about what this means? Long term, I mean." "I have. I know it's complicated, but I can't go back to being Callan. That person was miserable, trapped in anxiety and fear. As Stephanie, I can breathe. I can live." Jessica nodded slowly. "Then, we need to figure out a transition plan. You can't keep being two people forever, especially with Mom thinking Callan is off building some amazing career." The autumn brought changes beyond the weather. Stephanie began the careful process of consolidating her identity. She got a job at a small bookstore where nobody had known Callan. She made new friends who only knew her as Stephanie, the quiet but friendly woman with the auburn hair who recommended poetry collections and classic novels. The apartment lease ended, and Stephanie moved to a new building across town, leaving no forwarding address for Callan. Jessica helped craft careful explanations for family members. Callan had accepted a job opportunity overseas, would be traveling extensively, wasn't much for keeping in touch even before. Their mother occasionally asked Jessica for updates about her elusive brother, and Jessica would provide vague assurances that he was doing well but very busy. Meanwhile, Stephanie became a regular visitor at family gatherings, gradually being accepted as Jessica's close friend and almost an honorary family member. One crisp October evening, as red and gold leaves swirled on the sidewalk, Stephanie and Jessica walked through the park, hot coffees warming their hands against the autumn chill. "Mom called today," Jessica said casually. "She wanted to know if you'd like to join us for Thanksgiving this year." Stephanie smiled, watching her breath form small clouds in the cool air. "I'd like that. You know she's going to keep asking about Callan." "I know. Eventually, we'll have to tell her something more permanent." Stephanie paused by a bench overlooking the duck pond. "But not yet. I'm still figuring things out myself." They sat in comfortable silence, watching a family of ducks navigate the increasingly chilly water. "Do you ever miss being Callan?" Jessica finally asked, the question she'd been careful not to pose until now. Stephanie considered this, tucking a strand of auburn hair behind her ear. "I miss the simplicity sometimes. Being Callan was familiar, even if it was miserable. But miss actually being him? No, that person wasn't really me. And Stephanie is? More than Callan ever was. She smiled, a genuine expression that reached her eyes.
You know, your crazy exposure therapy idea actually worked, just not in the way either of us expected.
Jessica laughed, linking her arm through her sister's.
The best solutions often don't.
As they walked back towards Stephanie's apartment, the setting sun cast long shadows across their path. What had begun as a desperate attempt to manage crippling social anxiety had evolved into something neither of them could have predicted, a journey to authenticity that transcended the original problem entirely. At her doorway, Stephanie hugged Jessica tightly.
Thank you for everything, for seeing something in me that I couldn't see in myself.
I just wanted my sibling to be happy, Jessica replied simply. And you are now.
Aren't you?
Stephanie nodded, looking out at the street where fallen leaves danced in the evening breeze. Her reflection in the window showed a confident woman in a teal sweater dress, auburn hair framing a face that had grown increasingly comfortable in its own skin.
Happier than I ever thought possible.
The door closed softly behind her, shutting away the last vestiges of a life that no longer fit. In its place stood a woman who had finally found the courage to be herself, not by confronting her fears as Callan, but by embracing the truth as Stephanie.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!